beings of light. I hope you all are well. 4, 3, 2, 1. Today is April 3rd, 2021. It's 4, 3, 2, 1. But what are we counting down to? In today's channeled message, I'm going to be discussing the significance of today and what it's all leading up to. Essentially, today is the day before Easter. It numerically is a countdown of 4, 3, 2, 1. And from what my guides have been explaining, it is a countdown to a resurrection template, to a brand new paradigm in which we are now beginning to create. If you remember the equinox video that I put out, we entered this 0 point energy of the fourth dimension, meaning that 51% or more at this point, I'm not exactly sure what the population is, but 51% of the population has reached a 4.0 in dominant resonant frequency as of the 0 point energy. The template came online during the 1221 portal, which means the energy and the template was given to us on our frequency, on our cords and tethers, and at the equinox energy, at the 0 point energy, we reached a tipping point of at least 51% of the population moving into a dominant resonant frequency of a 4.0 or higher. And for those of you exchanging energy with me, that means that your 3D blueprint has been transmuted and you have now stepped into, this fourth dimensional reality creation or higher, just depending on, where you're sitting. Remember, reality and dimension is just a point of perception. Okay, so many of us, all of us are holding more than one dimensional belief on any given topic or subject. And all of those beliefs, all of those programs, the experiences over every single lifetime makes up your blueprint, and that blueprint has a frequency or an energy to it, and that can vacillate wildly, depending on, if you're discussing something that's very karmically triggering or something that you find blissful and happy. You're going to have a different dimensional perspective and be holding a different dominant kind of frequency within that cord and tether. And the aggregate of all those things makes up your dominant resonant frequency. So when I last left you, we had just done this full moon reading. And I think that the message that my team had given me was, this is a test. This is only a test, because it was like the minute we stepped into this new fourth dimensional reality, bam, we were being tested with all of these wolves without teeth, right? All of these things from the past that were coming back up for review. And this was our opportunity to view it from a new dimensional perspective. Were we going to, we all have free will. Were we going to, dip our toe back into the water of a 3D template and kind of reactivate that? Or were we going to hold firm in our dominant resonant frequency? And kind of par for the course, in speaking to many of you over this past week, many of you have been struggling with these tests that have come up in your reality, and really, kind of questioning, having this kind of dark night of the soul energy as to, how were you going to handle it? Very tempted, to step back into the old cords and tethers. Now, remember, it's more about perceptionally how you're handling the reality creation, but also the external events. So the biggest thing is, in a fourth dimensional reality, we begin to free ourselves from fear. And we begin to free ourselves from this idea that reality is created for us, right? And so, what I really was seeing is many people feeling disempowered by what was happening and is happening in the collective. And many of the people I'm speaking to are vacillating between creating this, amazing, vibrant reality within their own reality bubbles, but feeling very fearful about what's going on in the collective reality. So I kind of wanted to discuss that today because that's kind of the overriding sentiment that I've been receiving from some of you. And I've even had my own experiences this week in, the collective, and perceptionally, how was I choosing to show up in that reality, and we are going through this transition point right now. Not everyone has, transitioned over to this 4.0. It is the dominant factor, but only by just a little bit. So, we're seeing this weaving right now, this weaving energy where, it's a break away, and that's what the majority, only by 1%, is experiencing. But then the rest of reality is still experiencing this 3D template. And the ones that are in this 4D model, okay, we're moving from matter to magnetic. So we are pulling, right? We're expanding, and we're pulling these other individuals up in dominant resonant frequency. And, they may be a year, 2 years, 3 years, some even more behind in their dominant resonant frequency. And their, reality is really, changing drastically. And so it's a lot of fluctuation, a lot of energy, repair and weaving and frequency fluctuation happening right now in the collective. But for those of us holding a higher dominant resonant frequency, up until right now, our job has simply been to hold the grid at a higher dominant resonant frequency than the rest of the collective, in order to be the lighthouse, in order to be pulling everyone up, in this time of expansion. But now what we're seeing, okay, what's being asked of us in this 4, 3, 2, 1 energy is to begin creating these new templates. It's to begin to take action. All right. So just kind of bear with me. I've got my notes today, and I have a lot to discuss, so I'm just going to be checking in with them. Yeah, so it's time to begin creating these new templates. So as I've discussed in this fourth dimensional reality, that it's the doorway, it's the bridge, it's the magical dream world, okay? And one of the characteristics of this fourth dimensional template is that everything goes from a materialistic point of view to a spiritual point of view. And like I said before, we go from this idea that reality is created for us to we are creating our reality. However, the most important aspect that we're dealing with right now with a fourth dimensional reality is taking on others as ourselves. Okay, so now we understand from a fourth dimensional perspective that we are not separate, that we are all connected, and that is kind of the most exciting thing about the 4D is it's this idea that we are connected to everything and they are connected to us. Okay. But the challenge in doing that is to take on everyone as ourselves. and not just the people we like or, the people that we get on with. It's to take on everyone as ourselves. This idea that is talked about a lot with, Neville too, is that everyone is you pushed out. So it's more just the way in which you choose to look at it. But now we're in a space where we've ground in our dominant resonant frequency. We've stepped through the threshold. We've birthed this new fourth dimensional reality and these templates. And we also saw a period last year where everything was crumbling. All of these templates began to fall and began to crumble. And as the universe cannot create something new until something else has fallen away. We have to create space for that. So now we've created space for that, and we've kind of, leveled the decks. But it's important now that from this fourth dimensional perspective, that we become the architects, we become the playwrights, and we begin to create the new template. Because if not, a narrative will be filled in on our behalf. And, this is something that I'm seeing already kind of taking shape. And so I believe that it's very important. It's very crucial at this time that we begin to now take the action step in creating this new reality. So one of the things that I discussed in the 1221 Gateway channeled message is that 2021 would be a year of anomaly. It would be a year when many of us would be pushed into activism. Okay. And, there's a reason for all of this. One of the reasons why many people are being pushed into activism is to actually create the new templates, these new paradigms that are coming online from the perspective of a fourth dimensional reality. It is up to us to now begin shaping the reality collectively from a shift perspective, okay, from this Renaissance perspective. It's now time to put all of this work into action. We've been working for months on shedding the automaton within, getting to a place of original thought, stepping outside the game of pandemic, okay? Creating our own reality bubbles. We entered the seed of life phase, okay? So we've had an entire year really to get us to, a space. It's kind of like we've been training, we've been training for this moment to now, in reality and in all of reality creation, you've been practicing this individually. It's unification of the heart and mind. It's stepping into the now, into the 0 point energy. It's, formulating, imagining, a future that, you would like to create, and visualizing. And once you've done that, right, then you have to take action. You have to take action. And that's where we are at as the coalition of the crystalline heart at this point in time. It is time for us to begin to take action on all of this beautiful collective reality creation that we've been dreaming up for this last year. And this doesn't just mean individually, it also means collectively. But in order to do it collectively, we need to begin to do it individually. So what exactly do I mean by that? So about a year ago, one of the first videos I put out was that all truths are true for those who believe them to be true. And that is correct. So I predicted in this that one of the reasons for these various different belief systems regarding COVID was to push people into new and improved templates, into activism, which is what I ended up channeling about 6 months later. And now that's actually come to fruition. Now we see that. So this is going to be different for everyone. But it takes everyone working on the fractal elements of this new seed of life, of this new reality creation, in order to move into this flower of life phase. So it takes a person that's dedicated to medical freedom of choice, and the choice as to what you want to put into your body or not. It takes the person dedicated to rooting out animal abuse. It takes the person that is passionate about mental health. It takes a person that's dedicated to civil rights. It takes every person working on their new reality creation template from a fourth dimensional perspective to create a whole new society, a whole new earth. And how are you going to know which template is your focus? That's pretty easy to determine, because it's going to be the things that are coming up in your reality that are triggering you the most. These are the things that are in your reality that you feel there is a discrepancy in, that there is a vibrational dissonance in, that there's an injustice in some way, okay? Now, we're not viewing this from a pendulum perspective where, we're adding energy to one end or the other, by debating on social media, or we're coming at this from a victim space, or a disempowered space. We're looking at this from the perspective of, how can I take on others as myself? And what can I do to create something new around this? How can I act as if? How can I create a new template within my reality, which will then ripple out into the collective reality? It means that you shine the light of awareness on it, okay? You use the tools that you now have at your disposal and you implement them. So, if everyone would just work on their templates, individually, then we would begin to see the reconstruction and the renaissance and the resurrection of our new reality in a heartbeat. And so, I asked Spirit about this because, it doesn't mean that we will have all the answers to this. This is a brand new paradigm. This is a brand new reality that we're creating. And I certainly don't have all the answers. And, I really sat in meditation with this a lot because, if you're someone that's living in a reality that's vastly different than the one you're trying to create, if you're a person that is, dealing day in and day out with, discrepancies and things that are very, triggering in nature, then this is hard to do. It's hard to hold these higher dominant resonant frequencies and take action. So what is it that we really can do in order to shift the energy, in order to begin to build a new foundation, in order to become the architect of this new reality? And, the answer that they gave to me is that it starts with, simply shining the light of awareness on it. It begins with simply asking the question, not from a space of judgment, not from a space of anger or victimhood or fear, but asking the question from a space of neutrality. And this is what I've begun to do now in my personal reality. So as you guys know, and if you don't and you're new to my channel, I will let you know, I have a rare connective tissue disorder called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It is a genetic condition in which I was born with, which is a mutation of the collagen gene. Its main manifestation presents as all of my joints dislocate upon movement. It also impacts every single tissue in the body. So it can cause things like brain fog, POTS, dysautonomia or autonomic dysfunction, migraine, issues with organ function, bruising, tearing of the skin, bleeding tendencies. It is without treatment or cure. And many of you know that in my individual case, I was initially diagnosed with a vascular type, which would have greatly reduced my life expectancy. I've subsequently been reclassified to a more classic type when my son was diagnosed. So I also have a 9-year-old son who was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And he also has features of ASD or autism spectrum. The reason that we say features of is that many people with EDS or Ehlers-Danlos syndrome who have autonomic dysfunction, those two diagnoses or labels, however you want to view that, present themselves almost identically. So whether or not it's one or the other is kind of up for debate, but it presents as symptoms of autism spectrum. He also has challenges with sensory processing disorder and, executive functioning of the brain. So in our situation regarding asking the question and shedding the light of awareness on it, and moving into a space of action, of taking action, and creating new templates. What I have done over this past year is just begin to ask the question. Just begin from a space of neutrality to ask the question when I'm able to. So what does this look like in my reality? So I'll give you an example. About a month and a half ago, my son really wanted to go to a place called Great Wolf Lodge. It is a hotel and water park that is geared towards children. It's an indoor water park space, and they have like magic wands and a magic quest, and it is like, for him, it's like his ultimate place to go. And he had received some money over Christmas from family members, and he decided that instead of buying a thing or purchasing a thing, he wanted to take his money and put it towards a night at Great Wolf Lodge with his best little mate. And we thought that was a wonderful thing to do, and we're fully supportive of him having an experience over a material item. And so I went ahead and booked a night at this Great Wolf Lodge. And upon arriving there, it was a long drive, and the kids had snow boots on. We were in the middle of kind of like a snowstorm at the time. I explained to them that they really needed to be able to lie down and change out of their clothing, and was the room available? And I was told that it was not available, and that we could go change into bathing suits and go down into the water park and wait, or we could go do another activity. And, that I explained that really wasn't an option, that the kids were, very overstimulated, and they needed to get to a quiet space, in order to reset. And I was essentially told that we needed to wait. So we decided to push forward, and one of these, all-inclusive packages, it included a Build-A-Bear activity. So we did that. Now, mind you, the children are masked at this point, and that is not something that he is able to do for a prolonged period of time. Many people with ASD and sensory disorder cannot mask. And, in my son's case, he can mask for small windows of time, but it becomes very triggering and, difficult for him to manage. Also, when you have a condition, he also has a condition called POTS, as do I. You are restricting airflow to the face, and this, when you sit down and stand up, your blood pressure drops and your heart rate, goes up very quickly. And so cutting off your airways exacerbates this and the resulting brain fog, as well as a migraine disorder, which he has been dealing with since he was a toddler. So there's many reasons why many people cannot mask, or who cannot mask for a prolonged period of time. In my case specifically, because the tissue is so fragile. Anytime that I'm forced to mask for a prolonged period of time, I get a very severe sore throat, and began to notice that I was losing my voice and becoming hoarse, as well as, sparking off migraine and brain fog. So these are things that, we've been managing on and off for the past year. And after we went and did this Build-A-Bear activity, the room still was not ready. And, I just kind of insisted that, something needed to move forward, because these children really needed a break. Luckily, the room was ready at that kind of exact moment. But as the experience wore on, and we realized that there was no ability or honoring of medical exemption for masking, I, decided to pose the question, and spoke to a representative of the lodge, and, just brought to the light of awareness that for a hotel chain that specializes in children, to not have any accommodation for children with sensory processing, autism spectrum, disability, and to not honor a medical exemption was, I was wondering why that was. And what I was told at the time was that a business decision was made to open up the hotel chain again. And unfortunately, that business decision did not include children with unique ability, or children with ASD or sensory processing disorder. So, we are sovereign. We have a choice whether or not to participate or not. We chose to participate in that situation in the way that we could. We, tried to work around the parameters that were in place. But we, at the same time, asked the question. We posed the question to someone and tried to shine the light of awareness on it. Another situation that happened a few days ago, I was experiencing, a long day, very tired, and we decided to go out for dinner, which is something we rarely do. We typically cook in-house and prepare our own food. But we decided, we're just going to go out for a bite to eat. And I already was very having, they call it, in the EDS community, or people with invisible illness, you're out of spoon. So it just means that, I'd already used up my units of energy for that day, and was not able to really tolerate having a mask on. And we were inside the restaurant. It was very packed. And, I don't typically have these experiences due to my resonant frequency and the fact that I'm not really playing the game of pandemic. I typically don't have any type of 3D or confrontational experiences regarding my inability to mask or not mask. But when we went to be seated, the gentleman seating us advised me that I would need to be masked. And again, I shone the light of awareness on this and said, you do not honor medical exemptions in this facility. Is that correct? And there were many, many people standing around, and they all stopped and they all listened because, that is something that was more than likely on their mind as well. He was very, polite, and explained that because we were in a self-serve kind of buffet situation, that someone could go and get my food on my behalf, or I could choose to mask. Now, again, given my personal situation, I do have the ability to put it on for short bursts of time. And so I, decided again in my sovereignty, is this something that I want to play in? Do I want to take my business elsewhere? Do I want to go back home and cook a meal? Is it within my capacity to put a mask on my face briefly while I'm going up and getting the food? And in that situation, I decided that it was within my ability. Risk reward, right? But there are many people that don't have this ability to temporarily mask, or even put a mask on for a small, window of time. And in those situations, they would be faced with a vibrational dissonance, and where you could see how, even though they are sovereign and they are acting as if, their free will seems to be impinged upon. Again, with, my son's schooling, last year he was accepted into a gifted and talented program in a mainstream environment. He worked over a 2-year period to go from a contained classroom setting to a mainstream setting, which was all very traumatic, to be quite honest, and punitive in nature when it comes to children with special need and that are uniquely abled. The year prior, his quiet space that he was allowed to remove himself into for sensory breaks consisted of a broom closet. And this was considered progressive in comparison to many other schools. But he is very gifted and was able to skip a grade and was accepted into this gifted and talented program. And when they were deciding whether or not to bring the children in for in-person learning or hybrid learning, I was told that it would be a period of time in which it would be hybrid, and then eventually, over probably a 6-month period, it would move to all in-person learning. I explained that he was not able to mask given his special needs, and that, could accommodation be made in order to virtually allow him to attend the classroom. And again, I was told no, that there was no accommodation for children that had special need or who were not able to mask for 8.5 hours a day. And essentially, I could choose to try to force a child with special need to place a mask on his face for 8.5 hours a day, given his other complicating factors of EDS and everything that goes along with that, and enroll him in the program or not. And so we chose at that time to not, and to create a new template. And we've achieved that this year. We decided to do at-home schooling, virtual coursework. He was able to attend multiple grades at the same time, and take on a foreign language. We got a membership to the YMCA, and on Tuesdays we go and swim and do some, physical therapy, water activity together. And he also has a virtual occupational therapy session that he attends now. And on the weekends, he has his friend over to kind of, bridge the gap socially, where he's not able to see other children. But this is a template that we've chosen to create. This is the model in which we have begun to build our new foundations. Now, is it optimum? No, it is not optimum. Do I feel that children that are uniquely abled or have special needs should be isolated into a separate classroom, should be then forced to mainstream into a template in which they're not accommodated, or then told that their only other option is to stay home? No, this is not indicative of a fourth dimensional reality. And so it is now, where I am trying to shine the light of awareness on this and do what's within my power and ability to create a template that is inclusive, that does meet his needs. And I'm doing that to the best of my ability. Gosh, there are so many examples I could give you regarding, what's in my reality right now, regarding the challenge of those who are uniquely abled or have special need. One of the trends that I feel that the narrative needs to shift, and why I'm speaking about this today, is I saw a article, I believe it was in the Observer yesterday, that basically said that, how wonderful it was that Broadway was going to be, expanding their inclusivity to include those with disability. And the article went on to say that for those that were in need of being able to stretch their leg or use mobility devices that they previously had not been able to get into the theater, and how wonderful it was that they would now be able to attend virtually, and that this virtual attendance was the equivalent of having an in-person experience at a Broadway show. And I think that this is a very dangerous narrative, and one that I'm choosing to recreate. I see this too in regards to shopping and grocery shopping. In the country that I'm in, businesses are to allow for medical exemption. However, many businesses are choosing to say, if you mask, you're allowed in, and if you do not, then you are not, and they will not honor medical exemption. And when asked why this is, they are told, we have been told, that it is because there is an online option. So an online option is not the same as an in-person experience. And for anyone that is uniquely abled, that has many challenges to face to get out of the door to begin with, right? I've been in a wheelchair. I've been I've had to use a walker, I've had to use a cane, and all of these experiences, I cannot always drive myself. Okay, so I may have to arrange a ride or an aide to help me in a grocery store. And all of these experiences make it extremely challenging to get to the grocery. But I'll tell you what, when I do it, when I'm able to accomplish it, it is very satisfying for someone that is uniquely abled. It takes a lot of physical efforting for someone to get out in the world that is challenged in their body in some way. And it's not just the people that you can see. It is many people with invisible illness where they look perfect, on the outside, but they may have something going on the inside. And to tell that person, okay, that they do not have permission to come into a store because they have a disability or a special need, and that the alternative is they can go home and order from home is not the equivalent. It is not the same. And to tell a person that they have access to a virtual show or play and therefore they've been accommodated is not the same. It is not the same. This year could have been spent building ramps and expanding areas, that were designed for those with sensory issues or that need more leg room or that have a mobility device. There was a whole year in which inclusivity, real inclusivity, could have been accommodated. And so I'm shedding the light of awareness on that today. I am shedding the light of awareness on that. Now, I'm going to continue to act as if. Because I know that I'm shifting into this fourth dimensional reality. And I know that new templates are being built. But I also know that I'm the one that needs to build them. I'm the one that needs to create them. I need to be the architect of my reality. And so some days I do just comply and get by. Some days it is easier for me to just brave it and try to smother myself for a bit. But there are days when it is not. There are days. Wednesday was actually kind of, for me, the breaking point. We had to be out all day running errands, and I tried to put the mask on all day. And by the last store that we entered, I wasn't able to walk anymore. I was now in need of an electric wheelchair. I had a excruciating migraine. I couldn't speak because I'd lost my voice, and I was having trouble breathing. Now, these are not my dominant experiences in my day-to-day life. This was a direct result of me, attempting to comply and get by. And I really had just had enough. And there will be points in this where you will decide that it is not worth you harming yourself to please another, okay? And so for me, I decided that is the last time that I'm going to do that. And I do that mainly for those that are playing the game of pandemic, because it is not a game that I'm playing. But for those that are, I understand that it is just as real as for those that are not, because all truths are true for those who believe them to be. And so I have honor and respect for those individuals, but not to the degree that I'm going to continue to create a reality that does not align, that is vibrationally dissonant from where I'm at. And I think this is where, kind of the rubber meets the road now. This is where we really have to take action. We may need to decide, are we going to choose to inject something into our body or not? If we are in a country where that is being forced upon us, how can we look at this in a way and where we can reconcile that, we are light beings, and, we can metabolize anything because of our perspective and the energy that we're playing in. How are we going to, how are we going to choose to inject something into our body or not? If we are in a country where that is being forced upon us, how can we look at this in a way and where we can reconcile that, we are light beings, and, we can metabolize anything because of our perspective and the energy that we're playing in. How are we going to, treat these situations where individuals are being, effectively removed from our society simply because they can't adhere to what the narrative is. There are many, many decisions personally where action or stepping away is going to be necessary now. And it's important that we do this from a space of fourth dimensional template, from a space of we are all one another, we are all connected, and from a space of neutrality. From a space of neutrality, not from a space of anger or judgment, not from a space of separateness. And with the understanding that we are creating our own reality. Every time we step out into the world, we're choosing today what will manifest tomorrow. I personally am trying to support as many local businesses as possible to mindfully create a reality and where community and local is a part of that. There's many things we can do to simply take a small action, shine the light of awareness. You may not always be able to influence your outer reality in that now moment, right? In that now moment. But be sure and be clear that by simply asking the question, you've changed. You've changed reality. By simply shining the light of awareness on it, you've changed your reality. It may not appear because it takes time. It takes time for the mirror to reflect what we're doing in this now. Now, this will begin to amp up. Like I said in the last channeled message, our ability to manifest is becoming much faster as the light frequencies pick up. Okay? But there still is a delay. So I hope this helps someone out there. I hope that you are able to stay in a space of these fourth dimensional templates where you understand that shining the light of awareness on it, just asking the question from a space of neutrality, taking small action, little small action. These are how we change the templates. This is how we create a new paradigm. This is how we do it. And it takes every single one of us, every single moment of each and every day to create a brand new reality. And we will do it. We will do it. And we can do it. Even though it may seem difficult and it may seem hard, the biggest victory you can have in all of this is to remember that you are creating your reality. You are creating, and each and every now moment you get to choose. And if you slide back, if you have a fall, if you tumble, if you move down in vibrational frequency, it's just a moment. It is just a moment. You don't have to stay there. You have free will. You have sovereignty. We all have free will. We all have sovereignty. And we are all expanding and we're all moving in this new direction. And I know it seems, I don't want to say frightening. I really don't, because I believe that our world is taking care of us. But I know it can be unsettling. I know when you're in the midst of this experience, when I was in the midst of standing in that restaurant the other day, right? Or when I'm in the midst of standing in a space where I have two small children that are getting ready to have a meltdown, it can appear one way, but remaining neutral, remaining in a space where you know that your world is taking care of you, remaining in a space where you know you have the choice to either stand in your sovereignty, stand in your power, understand that we are creators, or comply and get by and become disempowered and disillusioned. That is your choice. And no one can take that away from you. No one. Love, light, and blessings to all of you. I really hope that helps someone out there. And I hope you all have a blessed, amazing, awesome resurrection, Phoenix rising energy tomorrow. I'm sending you all big, 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 big love. Bye.
I wish for my body to be healed. I wish to be cleansed. With all the angels by my side, I ask to be healed morally, mentally, physically, inside and outside. Amen.
Earth angels, arise. It should be not surprise when your power pours out. Yes, earth angel, you let those wings grow and sprout. Unfurled in the light, born with second sight. Within you is healing and hope, encoded beyond measure and scope. Fix your crown and fly. Earth angel, you came from central sun and starry sky. A spark so bright that love herself took you into her arms and held you tight. And when she let you go, she gifted you an ember to forever glow. Earth angel, you are magic, you are might. Earth angel, set your sight on all that's within, and to that there's more. An open door, explorer of energy, telepathy, and harmonic sound. Earth angel, where you tread will heal the ground. You will walk a path of clear vision, heart guiding your decision. Yes, earth angel, arise. It's time to begin your mission.
I wish for my body to be healed. I wish to be cleansed. With all the angels by my side, I ask to be healed morally, mentally, physically, inside and outside. Amen.
Just wanted to say I love ya. Scully loves ya. Bye.